What's the most insane ultimatum your parents gave you that completely changed your life? My father slammed the acceptance letter onto the kitchen table and told me I had 24 hours to decline or I was no longer his son. I had waited my entire life for that letter. Full scholarship to Columbia Law. My hands were still shaking from opening it 10 minutes earlier. My older brother Kevin had applied to the same program 3 years ago and got rejected. My father never got over it. He pointed at the paper like it was evidence of a crime. Your brother deserved this more than you ever will. You're going to call admissions tomorrow and tell them you changed your mind. My mother sat frozen at the counter, staring at her coffee like it might save her. I told him I wasn't declining anything. He grabbed my car keys off the hook and threw them in the garbage disposal. Then he flipped the switch. The grinding metal echoed through the house for 10 seconds before he shut it off. My mother finally spoke, but only to tell me I should listen to my father. Kevin wasn't even home. He was working at a car dealership across town selling vehicles he couldn't afford himself. I'd spent 4 years studying for the LSAT while working 2 jobs. Kevin spent those same years partying and barely graduating with a 2.1 GPA. But in my father's mind, birth order meant everything. Kevin was the firstborn. Kevin was supposed to succeed first. I grabbed my laptop and walked out. I slept in my car that night in the parking lot of a 24-hour gym. The next morning, I had 19 missed calls from my father and 1 voicemail that would later become evidence. I played the voicemail on speaker while eating a gas station breakfast sandwich. My father's voice was calm, almost cheerful. I called Columbia this morning, told them you've been struggling with severe mental health issues and that enrolling you would be a liability. I explained that your application contained several exaggerations. I gave them my number as your emergency contact. This is for your own good. Call me when you're ready to apologize. I saved that voicemail immediately. Then I drove straight to campus for the admitted students orientation I'd registered 4 weeks ago. The entire drive, I kept thinking he was bluffing. There was no way a phone call from a random parent could override a formal acceptance. I was wrong about the bluffing part, but I was right about one thing. This call didn't override anything. It triggered something much worse. When I arrived at the law school building, a woman in a gray blazer intercepted me at the door. She introduced herself as Dr. Patricia Okonkwo, Dean of Student Affairs. She asked if we could speak privately in her office. My stomach dropped. Inside, she explained that they'd received a concerning call from someone claiming to be my father. He'd alleged that I had fabricated portions of my application, that I was psychologically unstable, and that my enrollment would endanger other students. She paused and studied my face. Then she asked if any of those claims were true. I told her no. Every word of my application was accurate. I had transcripts, recommendation letters, and work history to prove it. She nodded slowly, then pulled up something on her computer screen. We also received an email this morning from the same number that left the voicemail. She turned the monitor toward me. The email was 3 paragraphs of lies. It claimed I had a history of violent outbursts. It claimed I'd been fired from multiple jobs for threatening coworkers. It claimed my personal statement was ghostwritten by someone I'd paid online. My father had signed the email with his full legal name, Robert Allen Crawford. He'd included his phone number, his address, and his relationship to me. He wanted Columbia to know exactly who was making these accusations. I showed Dr. Okonkwo the voicemail. I showed her employment records, my tax returns, my recommendation letters with contact information. She made copies of everything. Then she told me something I wasn't expecting. This isn't the first time we've seen a parent try to sabotage their own child's admission, but it is the first time someone's been stupid enough to put their name on it. She explained that Columbia had a legal team for situations like this. Fraudulent interference with student enrollments was taken seriously. They would be contacting my father directly. I asked what that meant for my acceptance. She smiled for the first time. Your spot is secure, but your father might want to find a good lawyer. I drove back home 3 days later to get the rest of my belongings. My father was sitting in the living room watching golf. He didn't look at me when I walked in. My mother was in the kitchen crying. Kevin was there too, standing by the stairs with his arms crossed. I expected him to defend our father. Instead, he looked at me and shook his head. I never even wanted to go to law school. That was always his dream, not mine. He made me apply because he couldn't do it himself. My father finally turned around. His face was red. He started yelling about respect and family loyalty, but Kevin cut him off. You just got a letter from Columbia's legal department. They're filing a formal complaint. You might actually get charged with defamation. My father went pale. He stood up and looked at me like I betrayed him. You recorded me? I grabbed my boxes from my old room and walked out without answering. My mother followed me to the car and begged me to forgive him. I told her the only person who needed forgiveness was her for staying silent my entire life. I started Columbia that fall. Kevin cut contact with our parents 6 months later. My father's complaint was eventually settled out of court, but his reputation in our small town never recovered.